Hi everyone, Sparta wanted to be part of the video today. This is my other little guy. And we today, oh, I love you too, boo boo. Come here, honey. Oh. All right, let's talk about getting around in Eagle County. So Eagle County is comprised of 1,700 square miles, and there's two main roads that service the entire area. The main one is Interstate 70. So this is more of a freeway style road where you have up to, it can be from 4 to 6 lanes depending on which section you're in, and it services about 12 million cars annually just in our little county. The other road that runs parallel to it is Highway 6, and this operates more as a frontage road. So it's 2-lane, but it does service the same areas as Interstate 70. Now, the reason I bring this up to my friends and my family and my clients is that you need to know alternative routes in case there are road closures, and those are going to be your two best bets. I would recommend downloading this app. It's called Everbridge, and it does give up-to-date information about road closures. It's also used by emergency personnel, so that also helps make sure that it is up to date. And mainly that is, one, it's focused on Eagle County specifically, but two, it's going to tell you specifics about closures on I-70 as well as Highway 6. It doesn't really have information about neighborhood closures. It's really about the two main roads. Now that we have the lay of the land, let's talk about if you're thinking about purchasing a vehicle or renting a vehicle. Now, I always tell my clients and my friends and my family that they should talk to the dealer or do some of their own research about how the car performs in the snow just right out the gate without any add-ons like tires, chains, things like that. And the reason for that is there's a few things that will just make a big difference to know and how it operates. So one is whether it's front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or 4-wheel drive. That is going to make a big difference in how it handles in the snow and ice. The other thing is just the weight of the vehicle. So there's a sweet spot in terms of weight. You don't want it too heavy, you don't want it too light, so that it can handle the conditions here in the mountains. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you are planning on biking, skiing, doing all the fun activities here, is that you do need a little bit more space. So I've had it with clients where they're like, oh no, it's just me. I can fit my bike, I can fit my skis. Well, now you have friends, you have your family coming, and all of a sudden you outgrow your vehicle really quick. So having a little bit bigger car with a little bit more space can really pay for itself later on down the lines and really enhance your experience here in the mountains. Let's talk about other options besides having your own vehicle. So we do have ride shares here. We do have private driver services, as well as we do have public transportation, and we do have bike trails. So let's start with the ride shares. So this is one of the things that comes as a surprise to some of my clients that are moving from other areas. We do have rideshare options, but they aren't as widely available as you may experience in other places. What I mean by that is that we do have more ride shares in some of the more resort areas, so Vail and Beaver Creek. But once you get into more neighborhoods or a little bit further away, the availability of rides, as well as how long it's going to take for them to arrive to your location, as well as how long it'll take for them to get you from point A to point B, can be quite a bit of a lag compared to other more metropolitan areas. So what I recommend is that order a ride. If you do happen to get a car, then I would immediately call that driver or text them and just confirm that they're on their way, their location, and also confirm your location. So one of the things about this area is depending on which GPS service you're using, the directions can take people to different areas. So that's never great when you're trying to, track your driver and you're like, why are they in this other neighborhood? It could just be that the GPS system that they're using is not accurate. So I always like to call and confirm if there's any landmarks or specifics about your location, even confirming the neighborhood. That can go a long way and make it easier to ensure that your ride gets there in a timely fashion. The other thing that you can get, which is much more accurate, is having a private driving company that will take you on your ride. Now, you can schedule these fairly far in advance, even months in advance. And so that is a really nice amenity that we have here that can get you from point A to point B. All right, let's talk about private driving companies. So I think that this is the best option if you know you need to be somewhere and you have to be there on time and you don't want to have the stress of potentially not getting a ride or coming way, way too late. So there are several companies within the valley. There's a lot that are even based out of the airport. And the nice thing about the private driving companies is you can book them well in advance. Most of the drivers are very familiar with the local roads, so they'll know where they're going. And one of the nice things is if you're arriving somewhere and you're also going to have them drive you home, is they'll actually wait at the location, which this may seem like a small thing, but because we have, intermittent weather, sometimes there's road closures or other things happen where they may be able to drop you off, but then there's a road closure and you could be stuck without a ride. It's happened to me. So I really like using the private driving services so that I know that even if the road is closed, I'm going to have a warm place to hang out. Maybe they can find a detour to get me home. So the only downside is these services can be a little bit pricier than other options. But again, if you need a guaranteed ride to and from, this is a really great way to go. Public transportation. So we do have a really prolific bus system that services the entire county. So there's stops all the way from Vail to Gypsum and everywhere in between. There is a caveat though, is that there are more stops in the resort areas. So both Vail and Beaver Creek are going to have more stops so it can get you closer to your final destination. As you get into other parts of the county, like I live in a rural area and there's only one stop for my entire town. And for the most part, the closest thing that is to my bus stop is going to be the post office, which is about a mile away. So to use that service, you do need someone to pick you up, not only because of the distance, but also a lot of the areas in our county do not have sidewalks and some of them are not that well lit. So especially if you're traveling at night, make sure that you have a ride that can wait for you or another means of getting from the bus stop to your final destination. The other thing to note about our bus service is in some areas, they don't start running until about 8 a.m. and they'll finish their service around 9-10 p.m. So definitely double check and make sure that's within the time frame that you need to get to where you need to go. There's a really great website that you can use to see where buses are and track their progress in case they get off schedule. And that is called ridevail.com. So I'd put that in my notes for if you are planning on using the bus system here. Last but not least, let's talk about bikes. So we have a really great network of bike trails. There's a ton of bike paths. There are some sections though that require you to ride on Highway 6. Again, that's our frontage road. And there's a few things that I always like to let people know. One, there's not a very big shoulder for riding your bike on. So that also can mean that there's gravel, there's slippery conditions. And so just be aware of the weather if you are planning on riding your bike. Also, it's important to have a set of lights in case you are riding at night or even during the daytime, just so people can see you, because sometimes it's a little unexpected to see bicyclists on the frontage road. But again, you can get almost through the entire county on the bus or on the bike system. So it can be a really fun way to kind of experience this area. All right, so that's all I have for you about transportation today. If there's anything else you would like to know about how to get around here in Eagle County or even in a more specific neighborhood, more than happy to help. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.